Hello, hello. And here we are, another Wednesday. Welcome to the Profit Lab show and podcast. I'm your host, Marie Torossian, CPA and 10X certified business coach. And I'm so glad you are here. If you're new to the show, go ahead and subscribe and like the channel or the pages that you are listening us or watching us on, so you get the alerts and whenever it drops, which is going to be every Wednesday at 12 o'clock Eastern time. And that's on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Podbean, even Apple Podcasts as well. So make sure to listen to us on any of the channels that you like. Today, we're covering pillar number 7, which is all about team building and delegation. Who doesn't want a team, right? So here's the thing. You can't scale alone. At some point, you have to let go and trust others to help you carry the load. So let's talk about how to hire the right people, delegate effectively, and build a team that amplifies your impact. All right, so when to hire your first team member, and let's say specifically full-time versus contractor, okay? So most business owners either hire too early or wait too long. And here's when you know you're ready. If you're consistently working 50 plus hours per week, wearing every single hat, that's a sign. When you're turning down clients or opportunities because you are so maxed out. And I remember that happened to me. There was a time where I could not take on any other client because I just didn't have the ability to deliver any further work. It was going to be impossible. You have repeatable tasks that don't require your unique expertise. And we've talked about this in prior episodes where there's certain tasks you can just easily delegate out because it just doesn't require your level of expertise. It could be done by anyone else. The other thing to look at is, if you're making at least about 250,000 annually, that's like gross sales, you might want to start considering of like, who's that next hire? These are going to be the key things to look for in your situation to say, hey, I think I might need to hire someone to help me out. Okay. So who should be that first hire? Your first hire should free up at least 10 to 20 hours of your time per week so that will actually give you the return on investment. So let's take an example. If you are making about 250,000 in gross sales, it's a good time to consider hiring maybe a part-time or like a contracted team member to help take over those 10 to 20 hours per week. If you're making over 350K or plus, you could consider hiring a full-time person, but it's best to always do a forecast, whether you can afford it. So don't hire just because you feel like, okay, I'm noticing these things and I know I need help. It's more about, okay, I know I need help, but let me run the numbers and let's see what the numbers say. So you want to be able to make some sales assumptions, think about if you hire this person, whoever that person is, and opening up 10 to 20 hours of your week, what are you able to do with that? In past episodes, we've always talked about using your time with 80% of your time going to revenue generating activities. So if you hire that person and they take out 10 to 20 hours of, redundant work that you're doing, how are you going to use that time? And what is that going to look like? So you want to run the numbers, but when you hire that person, what are the numbers that are going to change? And are you able to afford it? So it's always good to come back to the numbers and look at your actuals, forecast some new assumptions, and then see if that's something that you can actually do. So don't hire just winging it. Just make sure that your numbers support that decision, right? Let's talk about the hiring roadmap. A typical hiring order for service-based businesses looks something like this. Number one, usually it's an administrative assistant, or it could be nowadays a virtual assistant. They help you with your scheduling, your inbox management, client communication. They kind of become that person that just take over the basic stuff. I mean, think about the number of emails we receive these days. Just to clean up how should I say this? Junk, not just a junk email, just random emails. There's lots of offers, everything that's coming in, and you're getting hit with 100 and 150 emails per day. I know I get hit probably a lot more, and I have 4 different emails that I manage based on the different businesses, and some are personal, some are businesses. So the amount of emails that I get, it could be very distracting to constantly go in and clean it out. So that's already hours going out the door. So that could be a first hire. Another one could be a marketing assistant. So perhaps you need a little extra help with your marketing and you're doing that yourself. So that could be that next hire where they help you with your content creation, managing your social media, sending email campaigns to keep promoting your services. A third one would be sales assistant. They can help with lead follow-up. They can schedule your discovery sessions and just manage the CRM, make sure that all the contacts or the prospects that are coming through, they're not disappearing in some email. They're actually being managed inside of a CRM. So that's another good hire. The fourth one is a delivery specialist. This is a person that would be actually helping you deliver the services that you are already doing. So they're supporting with client work, project management, and other implementation that's going to help you deliver the services to more clients, right? And number 5, operations manager. This is the person that's going to focus on systems, operations, process optimization, and team coordination. So these are the 5 that, in kind of a priority order, I would say that you might want to consider. But again, these are just general that I'm giving you because in some cases, it really might depend on, your strengths versus, let's say, somewhat shortcomings. And I don't say that in a bad way. It's just none of us can be perfect in everything. So there's certain things that we're super hyper good at, other things that we're kind of good at, and just there's some things that we're just not good at, or it just takes too much time for us to do it ourselves. So based on that, you want to consider, what am I really good at? If the service delivery is the area where you are the best, and every single service needs to be reviewed by you, then that means you have more control and strengths in the delivery section, right? So that means you might need someone else to hire for admin work, keep those emails clean out of your inbox so you really hyper focus on the quality of the service. Hire a salesperson to handle, prospects. So again, if that's not your strength, why would you continuously do something you're not able to do it well? Hire for where your shortcomings are. So you have to solve for where you need most help to support and the areas that you're good at. So delivery, if that's their case, in your case, you're the person that focuses on delivery and you're not so very good at sales, then you hire for the sales, so that supports your delivery. So just think about on your end, where is your strength and where are your somewhat not so good strengths, your somewhat shortcomings, and hire for to solve that problem that you have, right? So from a delegation framework, let's think about that. So delegation is obviously not like just dumping a bunch of work on somebody. It's actually a strategic empowerment. Here's how you can delegate effectively. Document the process. Like if you're doing something right now, just create an SOP or a video walkthrough. I think I've mentioned in previous podcasts how I use Loom. Loom is a really great one, and I will put the link to Loom in the description box. So you can actually do the work. That's one of the ways I've trained my team on each and every client and their nuances. I would review the books. I would say, okay, here's what I'm looking at. Here's what I'm thinking. This does not seem right. So things that they can learn and be able to do the same. So it's never dependent on only me to be able to perform at the high level. This is my way of also training them to get their skills going too. So the easiest way to delegate is to create an SOP or create a video walkthrough, which it's a lot easier to learn visually. Most people are visual. Number 2, delegate the outcomes, not just the tasks. So tell them what success looks like, not how to do it. Because think about it, other people might be able to do exact same thing, get the same results, doing it slightly differently. So yes, you want to create a general SOP that they could follow if it's their first time doing it, but also let them be creative and maybe create a faster process, a better process that still gets to the same results. So focus on the outcome, not just the task. Provide context, like explain why it matters and how it fits in the big picture of the business. How is it that this thing that they're doing is actually fitting into the overall idea of the business and where you're going? So that's going to be very important. We talked about vision at the beginning, which was a pillar number 1. This is somewhat related to that. If they don't understand the vision and big picture, they're not going to understand why they're doing something. So give them context. Give them feedback loops, right? Check in regularly, especially when you first assign it to them. Check in, give them good guidance, give them feedback, tell them where they didn't do good and where they did good and how they can improve. That's the way they're going to be able to do it better every time. The more they do it, the better they're going to become. And of course, I mean, from my personal experience, I would say anytime you teach something new to someone, give them at least 90 days. Let them practice, let them figure it out, let them make the mistakes. Which brings me to my number 5, which is trust and let go. Basically accepting that if they do it at 80%, right, by someone, like if they did it at 80%, it's better than you spending 100% of your time doing it, right? So let them do it. Let them make the mistakes. Let them learn from those mistakes. And that's how you're going to make them become better at that task. So now I want to transition into how to look, how to avoid bad hires, red flags to watch out for. And I mean, I've hired a few people in my career, quite a few of them, and I've learned from those mistakes as well. One of the things I've noticed, and it has happened to me, and I know it happens to a lot of people, a lot of our clients have gone through the same situation, is that they hire when they're desperate. So you desperately need someone, so you just hire the random person that seems, even if they're not fitting, you're just like, I just need a body in this chair. So that's a bad hire right away. If you're in a desperate situation, you still are better off waiting and really focusing on who is the right hire. So here's some things to consider. If during the interview process, they can't articulate why they want to work for you and with you in your business and how they connect into the cultural standards of your business, that's a red flag. If they focus only on salary, how much money they're going to make and all of that, and not really so much of the mission or the growth of the business that you've explained to them, that's another red flag, right? Of course, everybody needs money. Everybody needs to be paid for their work. But if the only intention is to make money, again, I've mentioned this before, just like when you're starting a business, your vision and your goal is not the money. Money is the result of your success. So the goal and the vision, it's similar to them. So if they only talk about money and it's just salary, they're just trying to come in and do the bare minimum to make money. So that's not the right person to help you grow the business. They don't ask questions or have any curiosity about what you're doing. So they're not asking you, so what are your plans? Where do you see yourself in 5 years? So how can I be part of that big growth? And even though I'm coming in, let's say, as a marketing staff person, how can I be your VP of marketing one day? So if there's no questions like that, like they can see the vision and be able to see those similarities of how they grow with you, they're not really interested in growing with you. They just want a salary. And they're not going to be the type of people that are going to work their butt off in a way to help you with those goals and missions. And then their work samples are inconsistent or low quality, right? Unfortunately, I've tried to help many people, hire them, give them an opportunity. I teach them everything that I know. I let them do the work, and man, they keep failing, and it's so inconsistent. You can't depend on them. They're always late. These are all signs, and I've learned from my own mistakes. That's why I'm sharing here. And I've sometimes been very slow to fire because I connect with people. I feel emotionally connected to people all the time. And I'm like, I don't want them, I don't want them to feel bad. But at the same time, I can't grow. My business can't grow. The rest of the team is going to suffer because this one person is dragging everybody else. So and you may have heard this, so hire slow and fire fast. I've learned from my own mistakes. So it rings so true to me. So whenever you're trying to hire someone, take your time, be able to discern what is it that you need, who do you need to get you to that next phase, and then look at what they're asking for. So during the hiring process, it's key. Check for those red flags and don't rush through the hiring. Take your time and then hire the right person, because that right person is going to help you get to that next level. Okay. All right. Just like towards the end of each episode, we talk about the profit question of the week. So here it is. Are you ready? If you could hire one person tomorrow and they could take 10 hours off your workload, off your plate, what would you have them do? I'm gonna say it again. If you could hire one person tomorrow and they could take 10 hours off of your plate, what would you have them do? What are the tasks that they're going to take over? And here are your action items for this week. Here's your homework. List the top 10 tasks you do weekly that could be delegated. You can look at your calendar. If you're actually tracking all the work that you do in your calendar, this should be an easy peasy thing. You go back to a whole week of your, in your calendar and look at every single day. Where is your time going? So this is a very, very important thing. And if you're not doing it, if you haven't been putting things in your calendar, I would recommend in the next week, starting today, you start putting everything in your calendar, every task. Even if it's 15 minutes, just put it in there and then come back, look at it, and then see what you're going to delegate, the top 10 tasks. Okay. So then calculate the return on investment of your first hire. So if you were able to hire someone and they free up 15 hours per week for you, and let's assume your hourly rate is $1,000, right? What's that return? What can you do with that? And I brought that example earlier too. How would you use those 15 hours? And what does that look like in the financials? Always back to the numbers. And the third thing I want you to do is write a description for the next hire, even if you haven't hired them yet, right? Even if you're not ready to hire them. Just go ahead and create that description, because those 10 tasks and any other things that come up, it's going to start building out that description of the person. You may not know that you might be in a networking event and you meet someone that could be a perfect fit, right? But if you have clarity on who that person is and for that position, it's going to be easier for you to, find out and then make that decision. All right, excellent. So I hope this was helpful to you. I love delegation and teamwork. I've always been, interested in working in teams and teams that are growing together. Something I did not experience working for someone else, but something I always craved, which is one of the reasons why I started my own business too. I like team, I like cohesiveness, and I like everybody moving in the same direction. So I hope this was very helpful to you. Make sure to let me know in the comments, ask me questions, give me your comments on your takeaways. I love to hear and read them, and make sure to subscribe too, okay? Promise me? Please do that. Okay, so next week we talk about implementation and integration. We're going to be talking about how to execute with precision and make change stick into your business. So until then, wishing you a wonderful, successful rest of your week. See you next week.